Is your back feeling stiff and achy? Do you think it's just because you've gotten older? Think again. Most of the problems that people deal with their lower back is not solely due to aging. Yes, more time has passed and more time may have passed with you having bad lifestyle practices, but most of the problems there are not solely due to aging and you can fix them. And I'm going to provide you some insight into how you do that. So with the back, okay, some people believe that it's only solely due to aging, and it's not, it's not. What it is as time passes, that lifestyle practices, more time passes. So as more time passes, the problem grows bigger and bigger and bigger because we never address those problems. Culprit number one, and this is more than likely the biggest cause or the biggest reason that most of the people have the back pain. Sit too much. When you're younger, you're more active, you're moving around, you're not sitting in the position. So the way that the body works, it's always trying to find ways to make tasks that you do for long periods of time easier. So it conserves energy or you're able to be more comfortable. When you sit, there are muscles that are shortened in order for you to be comfortable in that position. Okay, so as I'm sitting here, some of the muscles to the front have shortened. So some of the muscles, my hip flexors, which are my psoas muscles, and also one of the other muscles, which is a quadricep muscle or quad muscle called rectus femoris. All those muscles short because as you sit, your pelvis tilts forward, and those muscles shorten to make it more easier or more comfortable for you to be in that position for long periods of time. If those muscles stretch and those muscles get shortened, the muscles of the back of the body, those muscles shorten, the muscles of the back in the back of the body or the back of the spine get lengthened. Okay? So your glutes get lengthened, and as they get lengthened too far, they become more inactive. The lower part, your lumbar spine, lengthens because your pelvis tilts forward. And as your pelvis tilts forward, your spine also shifts forward, which kind of sets you up for a lot of problems. Like a lot of people have sciatica, back problems and sciatica, and that's also tied into the spine shifting into a bad position or shifting to accommodate for your muscles of the front tightening, and those muscles of the front tightening, they pull your pelvis forward. They pull your pelvis forward. Also, muscles of the core, your abdominals, also weaken. So your solution for this, the simplest, easiest solutions to this is one, you have to stretch your hip flexors. You have to get them to lengthen so that when you do this other work, it will be easier for those muscles to pull yourself back into correction, or at least be able to manage some of the deals of your bad posture. One, stretch the hip flexors. Two, you're going to have to get proper abdominal work that works the core. Not, in most cases, it's not going to be leg lifts. It's not going to be the little deals where you flutter your legs up and down and things like that. The movement is not caused by the abdominals in those exercises. It's caused by your hip flexors, okay, which would add to the problem in most cases. So some work is okay, but you have to have the body back in balance. So you're going to have to work your abdominals. You're going to have to work your hamstrings and glutes, okay, so that those muscles pull the pelvis backward as opposed to forward. So that will help you be into correction and allow your spine to be pulled into correction or not go further into bad posture. Okay, that lower curve, that lower lumbar curve from becoming more enhanced. You want a slight curve, but you don't want an excessive curve. Culprit number two, and this goes along with number one, is weak core muscles. Okay, and this is again an adaptation that happens when that pelvis tilts forward. Those weak core muscles. So because the muscles get weak, your body is good at passing them off to other muscles there. So like there'll be times back in the day when you see the people, they're doing the deal where somebody's holding another person's ankles and they're pushing them down. And if you watch them, a lot of the times you look down at the lower back and the lower back will curve and come up off the ground. Okay. Because it's too much force that when they're pushing the legs, their abs are not strong enough to deal with that force. So it passes it off to other muscles. And the people don't catch this because all they care about is their legs moving up and down. They're not trying to actively engage the core. When you choose your ab exercises or your core exercises, you want them to really work the core and not work the hip flexors. So a lot of people do leg lifts And the way they do leg lifts, when they lift their leg, okay, it's from here, okay, with that. So with it being from there, it's hip flexion, okay, it's not spinal flexion. So you got to remember the abs flex the spine. They flex the spine. You have to choose your exercises that flex the spine and not flex the hip. Okay, so there'll be a lot of the ones where the people they'll do sit-ups and their feet will be anchored down and stuff like that, and they'll be pulling. They'll pull all the way up and all the way down. They're not flexing the spine. They're staying upright, and as they're sitting up, it's more like this, and so it's more the hips flexing. Or they'll lay on the ground, have their feet up above the ground, or they'll have the weights on the ground. And they'll move the weights up and up. Those are more hip flexion exercises. The abs are secondary, so the abs may eventually get tired and they'll eventually feel them burn, but it's not direct ab work. It's more work on the hip flexors. Now, it's not to eradicate anything that works the hip flexors, but you don't want unnecessary stuff. You don't want them to take over when you're trying to hit your abs. You want more direct at your abs. Also, doing things like planks, toe touch planks, but you have to do them right. Most people don't do them right, so when they're planking, they'll just stay normal and they're not activating the pelvis. See how like everything crunches down once I flip the pelvis forward? They're not activating that pelvis so that that core gets engaged. So you want exercises like that. Sometimes Swiss ball rollouts, but again, you have to make sure that you're not dipping the low back and letting other muscles take over. So when I do rollouts, I only have people do rollouts as far as they can before they break technique, and then hold that position and then roll back, as opposed to just going in and out, in and out, in and out. You have to choose your core exercises properly because you want to fix the problem. You don't want to aggravate the problem. Culprit number 3 is related to the other two because it's poor posture and all that. Let me flip culprit number 3 for you. You need to lose weight. Here's the explanation why. Okay, so if you have large central obesity, if I'm larger in here, watch as I try to stick out my stomach hard. So that spine, again, what I talked about earlier, how the spine's shifting forward. Okay, so you're carrying more weight in the front, and as you carry more weight in your front, everything has to balance out. So your spine, your pelvis has to tilt forward to deal with that, your belly hanging out and stretching out and pulling that spine forward. Okay, so because you have so much, you're carrying so much at the waistline, it has to be fixed. So you may have to get on that, hit all those exercises I mentioned earlier, the stiff leg deadlifts, the different types of deadlifts, glute bridges, and hip thrusters with it. Okay. Or you may have to do some exercises that work specifically the lower back. So your lower back is stronger at holding that stress or balancing out that stress that having the belly and stuff pulls forward. So all of that contributes to your poor posture just as much as earlier, as I mentioned, sitting over at a desk and writing, because again, your spine all curves and all that there. So you'll want to work the right muscles. So in this case, a lot of people need to work the upper back muscles, not the lats, but then upper back muscles like the rhomboids, the teres muscles, the traps, anything that makes you retract and pinch back the shoulders. So rows are going to be very important. Different type of rows. That's why I like row to the neck. Great for people with that problem. Reverse flies are great for people with that problem. But there's 2 ways to do them. You can do one that'll work rear delt, and that's fine. But then if you go and you try to extend all the way backward, that will work your upper back. That will also help that problem. So you want to work the muscles to the rear of the body, the upper back, the hamstrings, the glutes, sometimes the lower back to help you manage that, and stretch the muscles of the front body, the quads, the hip flexors, the pecs. And as you stretch those, that will allow you to use the work from the muscles of the back of the body to help pull you into correction. So also, this is again chiropractic, and I'm a firm believer in chiropractic. I'm a firm believer in using active release and other techniques, muscle techniques in there. Because if you have tight muscles, you can train, and it can take a long time to get pulled in the correction. Okay, whereas you use an ART with chiropractic, see, the chiropractic can put the bones in the correction, but the brain remembers the muscles being short. If the muscles are short, it can pull that chiropractic right back into correction, okay? If you get good active release along with chiropractic, no massage is not going to help. It's going to alleviate some pain for a short bit, and then you're going to go right back into the bad deal there, okay? it will lengthen those muscles, put your spine and stuff into proper alignment, along with the muscles being lengthened and not short like you normally are. So it's like a reset switch, and it's a fast reset switch as opposed to us working and doing it the hard, long way. Yes, you will need both, so it's not cutting out one. That is a much faster solution than anything else that I'm telling you, even though they're all great solutions. This one is another culprit that people aren't talking about. When you exercise, you're focusing too much on the muscles of the front of the body, not enough on the muscles of the back of the body. Okay? And let's add to that, you also lift with bad tech. You deadlift or whatever, you're deadlifting with bad technique. Okay, so again, the body is in balance. Whatever you work more of, or whatever the body has to deal more with, whether it's from sitting, or you work your quads and things like that a ton, or you work ab exercises that really, or you perform ab exercises that really work the hip flexors, that makes everything in the front of the body shorter. Okay, so it's easier for you to perform, but then everything in the back of the body gets lengthened lengthened, and you're going to perceive it as tight so you can stretch it, and it's not tight, it's taut, because it's stretched so hard that it's tight. It's not tight due to being short, it's actually lengthened. So you're working those muscles of the front of the body too much and not working the muscles of the rear of the body. So, we all like looking in the mirror, how we look in the mirror. So if we're doing, we'll do our bench presses, we'll do our leg presses and squats to hit our quads, and do those ab exercises that we can feel good about doing, that are flashy. Our favorite influencer said that these are great, even though they're not even ab exercises. But save that for another video. Again, that's gonna play a role in how your posture is. And like I mentioned earlier, if you sink into bad posture with your hips, your pelvis, and your spine, that's going to eventually pull you into back pain. You'll only be able to get so far without experiencing that pain, or it's going to be stressed with those muscles and with that joint being stressed all the time because it's in bad position. It's going to feel like it's working more. So it's almost like it's hyperactive. Okay. Again, you want to work those muscles at the back of the body, hamstrings, glutes, hamstrings as a hip extensor, not as a knee flexor. So leg curls are out, hamstrings, glutes, maybe lower back exercises. I like, after a heavy deadlift or squat workout, to hit the reverse hyper, but then I would sit at the bottom or in the stretched out position, maybe with a little weight in my ankles. It depends on where I'm at, and let that pull, and that will decompress your spine. So that will be helpful to alleviate, but you'll have to do the other exercises to help fix the cause of the pain. So there's two ways of looking at it. There's the pain that you have and alleviating that pain, and alleviating the cause of the pain, and they're not necessarily the same thing. So you'll get temporary relief from some things, but it's not going to fix the problem. Okay, also sometimes exercises with bad form. So when deadlifting and things like that, stiff-legged deadlifts, you have to understand the difference between spine flexion, this time it's spine extension and hip extension. So spine extension is at the spine, you're forward. So when you round your back and you have to stand back up with that weight, that's spine extension. Now, sticking your butt out and your hips to this wall, that wall, that's hip extension. Okay? A lot of these cases, you're going to want hip extension and very little extension of the spine. And that sometimes involves, instead of trying to arch your back and look and see everything and everywhere that you're going when you're performing these